Over there. I don't need it yet.
Hello, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We are here from Temple Sinai of Palm Beach County, and so excited to be here with you for yet another Shabbat. As it is the month of Elul, which is the month before the High Holy Days, it is traditional to listen to the sounding of the shofar every day throughout this month. And so last week we listened to the shofar, and I'd like to invite the video of our Ba'alat Tekiah, Susan Buck, blowing the shofar. Tekiah! I saw her, but I didn't hear her. So let's try that once more with the sound this time. Can we roll that video one more time with the sound, please? Thank you. Okay, there seems to be something wrong.
Seems to be having some technical difficulties with the video.
Yeah. Do you think third time's the charm, or should we?
Third time's the charm. Is that the Jews have that magic 3 that we love so much?
Yes.
Tekiah.
Ah, that was
Worth the wait.
wonderful.
Absolutely worth the wait.
Yes, absolutely. I feel fulfilled. Okay, so let's start our service with a little singing. Jake, let's hear the Shalom Aleichem, page 142.
All right. Peace for all of us. Don't we all need it right now? Shalom Aleichem, Malchei Hasharet, Malchei Hasharet, Malchei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem, Boechem LeShalom, Malchei HaShalom, Malchei HaShalom, Malchei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni LeShalom, Malchei HaShalom, Malchei HaShalom, Malchei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem Shalom, Malchei HaShalom, Malchei HaShalom, Malchei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We have a few sponsors to mention tonight. First of all, for tonight's Erev Shabbat service, I would like to mention my father, Dr. Hal Bass, who sponsored this service in honor of his wife, my mom, Iris Bass's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom! And tomorrow's Shabbat's Torah study is sponsored by Jim Hurt, Eric Adams, in honor of the 50th anniversary of his bar mitzvah. Mazel tov. And the following donations to the community food pantries are sponsored by Jean Hirschberg in memory of Rita Toscher, David Pechenik in memory of Solomon Pechenik, Judy and David Stern in memory of Maurice Stern, and Dr. Francis Smith in memory of Lucy Raskin Smith and Moses Smith. I would also like to give a very big thank you to Marvin and Norma Ravikoff for their very generous donation of $5,000 of food from the Costco to the Jacobson Family Food Pantry of the Ruth Norman and Norman Rails Jewish Family Services. And I'd like to thank all of our volunteers who helped to bring all of that food into their vehicles, drive their vehicles into our parking lot this morning, unpack them, unload them, and get them all ready for that donation. So a big thank you to the Ravikoffs, and a very big thank you to our Social Action Committee volunteers and all of the volunteers from the temple who assisted with that today. And now I'd like to invite everyone to turn to page 122 and 123. And if you have a Kaddish cup, please raise it as we sing the Kiddush. Vayhi Erev, vayhi Voker Yom HaShishi, vayachulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzevam, vayachal Elohim bayom hashvi, malachto asher asa, vayishbot bayom hashvi, Mikol melachto asher asa, vayvarech Elohim et yom hashvi, vaykadesh oto, ki vo shavat mikol melachto, ki vo shavat mikol melachto, asher bara Elohim, asher bara Elohim lasot savri lechaim, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon chinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom techilah l'mikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. continue as we turn in our prayer book to page 138, and Jake leads us in the Dodi.
All right. 138 for Dodi. And at Temple Sinai, we have a specific tradition, not privy to only Temple Sinai. A lot of people actually enjoy various verses of Dodi, but for us tonight, I'm inclined, and for us, I hope that we're inclined, to sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And wherever you're at, if you've heard this one enough, hopefully you'll sing along. This is a little bit of a newer one. Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabila, Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabila. Shamor v'zachor b'ribur echad, Yishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem ultiferet v'letehillah. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabila, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabila. Verse 2, Likrat Shabbat, Lechu v'nelcha, Yehi mekor ha-beracha, Merosh mekarem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tehillah. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabila, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabila. Hitoreri, hitoreri, Kiva orechu mi-uri, uri, uri, shir daberi, Kevod Adonai elayich nigla. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabila, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabila. Verse 9. Boi v'shalom materet bala, Gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, Toch emunei am segula, Boi chala, boi chala. One more time, Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabila, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabila. All right, so if you've already risen in body or in spirit for that last little bit of Lecha Dodi, especially my little spoken word edition right there, let us turn now to the formal call to worship. the Baruch Hu, which is located on page 146. Yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai dai. Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. All right, you may be seated. All right, now, I dropped my pick, so I'll be right back. But luckily on that journey, I found my other missing piece, the capo, which tends to disappear sometimes with the green screen behind me. All right, Ma'ariv Aravim, God who brings on evenings, alters time, changes the seasons. Feels like sometimes when we're inside so much, where are the seasons? Well, here in Florida, we can definitely feel it as soon as we step outside with that hot summer. But for people just tuning in for the first time tonight, or for longtime Temple Sinai members, I hope that you'll sing along with this and remember all that we've been through in the last year. And a lot of it didn't happen to be in this pandemic or whatever was going on. And each week we've had Shabbat, and that's the one thing that's remained constant, just like the seasons or just like the evenings that come every day. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, ma'ariv aravim. בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את כוכבים במשרותיכם, ברקיע כרצונו. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Borei yom v'layla, כולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים. Yai dai 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 Ha'ma'ariv Aravim.
We continue now with the Ahavat Olam prayer on page 150. And I invite you to chant along with me on page 150, the Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha V'ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Hukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbeinu v'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla v'avatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. We turn to page 152 for the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai On page 155, we continue with the interpretive translation of V'ahavta. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them on the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet. On the bottom of page 157. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. The Michamocha on page 158.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We now turn to the Tefillah, beginning on page 164, and we begin together and then go into a time of silent prayer or meditation. Please utilize this time as you see fit to silently pour out your feelings to God as you see fit. Page 164, we begin together the Tefillah, and rise if you are able to do so in body or in spirit.
Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayeh hakol atah rav lehoshia. Morid hatal, מכלכל חיים וחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך מימי ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני אבא ואבקש. That's better. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני אותה אבקש. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני אותה אבקש. שביתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בחלום. לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בחלום. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני אותה אבקש. אחת שאלתי בבית אדוני אותה אבקש. שביתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בחלום. לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בחלום.
We are still reeling as a country, wrestling with questions about racial justice, the use of police force, justice in our country. We seem not to be able to follow the Torah's commandment, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. And so as we begin to think about the Misha Berach, my heart goes out to all of those who are healing from all of the unrest. Specifically, I'm thinking of those in Kenosha who are healing from unrest, and those who are the families who have been affected by all of the violence there. And our hearts go out to all of those who are in need of healing in our community and in all communities of the world. People who are in need of healing of mind, body, spirit, or of all three. And so now I'd like to invite us to look at the list of those names we know of those who are in need of such healing, as we sing together the Misha Berach by Debbie Friedman. Please join with us.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
I'm not usually the best person at remembering where I have put things, whether it's my cell phone or my keys or my glasses. Sometimes they're right here and I forget where I have put them. I always seem to set things down without thinking, and when I speak of not finding them, I usually say I seem to have misplaced my phone or my glasses. Not that I've lost them. They are simply missing, not lost, especially now when I'm spending so much time in the house and not going very much elsewhere. The Torah portion this week, Ki Tetzeh, contains many mitzvot, but I'd like to talk about one in particular, and that is about the mitzvah of Hashevat Avedah, which is the mitzvah of returning lost or missing objects. The Torah tells us in Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 1, "Do not see your fellow's ox or sheep gone astray. You must not ignore it. You must take it back to them." This mitzvah led to the legend of the claimant's stone, described in the Talmud in Tractate Bava Metzia 28b. And this is described as a large stone placed in the center of the city of Jerusalem in ancient times. And at this stone, a person who lost an object could come and declare it having been lost. And a person who had found an object could come and declare at having found it. So that in this way, it was hoped that a person who had lost an object and a person who had found an object would find one another. In addition, the halakha, the Jewish law, around the finding of objects has to do with the time at which one would sensibly suppose that the person who had lost it would have despaired of ever finding it. Until that time, it was not up for grabs. A finder was required first to take as many reasonable steps necessary to reunite the found object with its owner. Now, I remember studying this particular halakha, this particular aspect of Talmudic law, when I studied at Pardes, an egalitarian yeshiva in Jerusalem, the year before I began rabbinical school. And I remember having studied the concept of yeush. Yeush is the Hebrew word for despair. And it is not until that time when the Jewish law considers that the loser of an object would reach that emotion, that yeush, that despair, that the object would become what was called hefker, ownerless. Now, I remember this point of halakha particularly because while I was living in Israel between college and rabbinical school, I happened to come upon a lost dog. And I took this dog in. And I tried very hard to find its owner. I put posters up. I spoke to people around the neighborhood to see if anybody had seen anyone who calling for a dog. Nobody had. And so I actually named this poor dog Hefker, which means ownerless, because I had just learned that that was the name for an object, or I guess in this case, an animal that had become lost and for which the owner was probably having had reached that emotion of yeush, of despair. Now, as an aside, by the way, I was able to find this dog a forever home with an Israeli friend of mine that I had made during my time there. But until that time, I had fun calling her Hefker. Anyway, getting back to the Torah portion, the Torah states, "Do not see your fellow's ox or sheep gone astray. You must not ignore it. You must take it back to them." This is a rather odd way of saying this, however. Wouldn't it be easier if the Torah had just stated this more concisely and said, if you find an ox or a sheep that had gone astray, rather than do not see your fellow's ox or sheep having gone astray? But it does say it that way. So Rabbi Noah Farkas notes this in his article, The Claimant's Stone. So as he notes, we're not allowed to see or view the animal as lost. We view it as simply missing. As long as we do not see something as lost, we do not despair. We do not reach yeush. And the same could be said for hope itself. This is certainly a time when many people have reached this point of despair, when they have lost hope. But although we may not find it sometimes, we cannot declare that we have reached the state of yeush, despair, of ever finding it again. Do not give up. Do not allow yourself to slip into that darkness. Hope may always be found anew if we force ourselves to change our perspectives. And in this way, our hope is sometimes missing, but never lost. The Midrash to this part of the Torah states, "You must surely return what is lost, even until the 1,000th time." And so we must do with hope as well. During this month of Elul, as we prepare for the High Holy Days, let us not despair. Instead, let us remember that just as we make teshuvah, repentance, and we return to God, to our higher selves, our hope may also always be renewed and restored. Let us go to the claimant's stone within our hearts and declare that we may always return our hope, our lives, and ourselves. While these may have been misplaced, like my cell phone or my keys, hope cannot ever get too far away from us. Shabbat Shalom. We now come to the Aleinu prayer. And the Aleinu prayer is a prayer that we say that says it's our responsibility. It is upon our shoulders. Literally, it's upon us. Aleinu, upon us. To go out and do works of tikkun olam, the repair of our world. And usually before we say the Aleinu, I say something to the effect of, so let's go out and do tikkun olam. And definitely that's part of my message. It always is. But I also want to celebrate something good that has happened in our world and in the news the last couple of weeks. And I'd like to mention how wonderful it is that Israel reached a peace agreement with the United Arab Emirates. And to the extent that the U.S. brokered that deal, I was very proud. I was proud of both America and I was proud of Israel. And it is certainly a positive thing in our world. And I hope that this encourages other countries to follow suit. And of course, as we always pray for peace in Jerusalem and Israel, I hope that this leads to more of that peace in our world. And so it is with that kavanah, that thought, that I invite us all to turn to page 586 to recite the Aleinu. Please rise if you are able.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר ראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
There are stars up above, So far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. Before we recite the Mourner's Kaddish, I would like to recite those names that we remember at this time of the year, those whose yahrzeits, their anniversary of their passing, occur at this time. Those whose names are written on the plaques engraved around the sanctuary: Peggy Barent, Morris Berg, Abram Brombrut, Martin Brody, Eli Cohen, Molly Eiferman, Shirley Feingold, Chaim Hillel Heimowitz, Richard Hendler, Dr. Jacob Jupiter, Murray Lerner, Abe Lynn, Nathan Racklin, Isidore Allen Reich, Harry M. Reed, Hyman Schneider, Ray Siegler, Maurice Stern, Minnie Tiemann, and Samuel A. Winehouse. Others recalled at this time: Felicia Abraham, Esther Altabet, Stuart Bolkin, Gordon Brown, Louis Cooper, Philip Dinsky, Sam Grossman, Francis Mitchell Jacobs, Jack Katz, Max Lair, Ida Nelson, Arthur Pickman, Philip Pines, Solomon W. Pechenik, Louis Salpeter, Ralph Schenk, Faye Stein, and Naomi Van Clare. Others whose deaths are more recent, I'd like to mention the two young men who were gunned down in Kenosha, and their names are Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber. And I send a feeling of condolence to their families and all who knew them. We also recall those who are still in the Shloshim period, the 30 days since their passing: Susan Asensio and Florine Cussel. If you are thinking of someone at this time whose name I have not said, please say their names aloud at this time. And so, in solidarity with mourners everywhere, and remembering also all of those who were murdered in the Shoah, we rise as we turn to page 598 for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divarach Yeruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, B'chayechon uvyomechon, Uv'chaye docho Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ulal me'almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekudesha b'richu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiram ba'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shalom maraba min Shemaya, v'chaim Aleinu ve'ol kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'ol kol Yisrael ve'ol kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who mourn around the world. And let us say, Amen. Please take a seat as we conclude with our final song.
All right, so for our final song, we'll be on page 647. Great page. Great page. They're all great, especially this book that we have here, this book of prayers. 647, Ozi v'zimrat yah, vayhi li lishua. Adonai is my strength and might. God will be my salvation. Times like these, go outside, put on your mask. It's really difficult to connect to these words. However, will be my salvation. Future tense. Life has purpose, and our purpose is to understand where life is strained, that something like this could happen. If people took care of themselves and looked after others by wearing the masks all the time, then we would have a lot better of a time here in America. So, salvation. Adonai will be our salvation. It's really us saving ourselves, saving others to save ourselves. Ozi v'zimrat ya, v'ayhi li lishua. Ozi v'zimrat ya, v'ayhi li Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.